The stock market just hit an all time high again, and somewhere in your gut, a voice says, "Don't you dare buy now. You'll be buying the top. You'll be the sucker who bought right before the crash." It's one of the most trusted instincts in investing. So today, we put it on the stand: never buy at a record high. Is it wisdom, or is it the single most expensive fear a normal investor can have? Let's be fair to the prosecution, because this fear is not crazy. Picture March 2000. The market is at a record. Everyone's a genius. You finally buy in, and then the dot-com bubble bursts and the S&P falls 50%. Or October 2007, new high, you buy. Months later, the financial crisis erases half your money. Those scars are real. Buying a record high right before a historic crash is the nightmare that keeps people in cash. The prosecution rests and it looks airtight. So let's actually look at the evidence. Every month of the S&P going back to 1871. First question: how rare is a record high really? If it were a once a decade event, buying one might be reckless, but it isn't. Nearly 1 in 5 months in that entire history closed at an all time high. 18%. New records aren't a freak event you stumble into at the worst possible moment. They are one of the most normal things the market does. Now, the real question, the one that decides the case: when you buy at a record high, what actually happens next? Take every month the market hit a new high and measure the return 1 year later. The answer: up 8% on average, positive nearly 70% of the time. Now compare that to buying on any random month, high or not: up 6.5%, positive 64%. Read that again. Buying at an all time high didn't do worse than buying on a random day. It did better. Stretch it to 3 years and the gap widens. Records returned 22% versus 20 and were positive 75% of the time. The prosecution's entire case just collapsed. Why would the top be a good entry? Because a record high isn't a ceiling, it's a symptom of a market that's trending up, and trends persist. Bull markets don't set one record and stop. They set dozens back to back for years. Records cluster. The market spends much of its life at or near a high. So, wait for a big dip to buy usually means standing on the sidelines, watching it climb without you. But we promised a fair trial, so here's the evidence that survives. Those crashes, 2000, 2007, were real. So what actually made them dangerous? It wasn't the record, it was the price. In 2000, stocks weren't just at a high, they were at the most expensive valuation in American history. The danger was never the new high itself, it was overpaying for it. A record reached at a normal valuation is very different from a record reached in a mania. The high isn't the risk, what you pay for it is. So here's the verdict. The claim, "never buy at a record high," is guilty. Guilty of taking a real risk, valuation, and pinning it on the wrong suspect, the high. Guilty of scaring ordinary investors out of the market's single strongest trend. On the evidence of a century and a half, buying at a record high has been, on average, a slightly above average time to invest. Records are not the ceiling. They're what a rising market looks like. The costly mistake was never buying at a high. It was sitting in cash, waiting for permission that the market was never going to give. This isn't advice to go buy anything. Valuation and how long you can stay invested still matter enormously. It's a verdict on one specific fear, and that fear just lost its case. I'm cash on trial.